Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Good morning to you. 10:30 now on this Sunday, December 3rd. Thanks for being with us. It's hard to tell where, in fact, this camera is because it is so foggy. I'm Taylor Stewart. Let's go ahead and talk about your forecast because I want to know if we're going to see this fog continue throughout the day. Why we had a foggy day yesterday.
Yeah, it's been one misty weekend around here, right, Taylor? I think a couple more hours we're dealing with the mist and the fog. The good news is the steady rain we had this morning, which was unlike Saturday, that has now pushed off to the east. So we're looking at drier air working its way in already in terms of less precipitation, at least more stable air. Drier air that will kind of knock the fog out. That's going to take, I think, until the afternoon hours. So staying under the clouds and in the low 50s for now. Future scan kind of showing those low clouds up and down, kind of bounce off the deck, so to speak. We do improve things, though, by afternoon as drier air edges in out of the west and helps that visibility. Up to around 58 this afternoon. Might even see a little late day sunshine. So it is a day of improving weather. We'll talk about the cooler, drier air that's set to arrive into Maryland coming up.
All right, we'll have to look out as that Christmas parade gets underway very soon. Well, this morning, Baltimore police are looking for the shooter who opened fire inside of a movie theater. This happened last night at Harbor East Cinemas in downtown Baltimore. A witness explains to Fox 45 News what she saw.
The movie had just ended and the lights came up and security just ran in and said, "There's been a shooting, everyone get out." And we were like, what's going on? What's happening? I was scared that the shooter was going to come into our theater. I wasn't sure what was happening. I just saw people running and I was like, oh my God, this is actually happening. Like, I have never been in a situation like this before. I've seen it on the news, and having it happen, you know, near us in real life, I was like, how is this going to unfold? Are we going to get hurt? Like, I didn't know what to grab. I forgot my purse, and then my friend got it for me, thank God, but it was just chaotic. I was scared.
A really tense situation there, but thankfully officials say nobody was injured inside the theater. We're going to keep you updated on this story as more information becomes available, both here on air and online at foxbaltimore.com. Continuing coverage this morning as homicides in Baltimore City are expected to be below 300 for the first time in almost a decade. But many people tell Fox 45 News they're still frustrated with the crime facing the city. Just this week, we saw a 15-year-old alleged with first-degree homicide for shooting another teenager. And this morning, a 14-year-old also charged with carjacking after taking police on a chase. These recent incidents involving teenagers leave many worried about the current state of Baltimore City.
Some of those people who I grew up with who are no longer here, if they knew that this was the condition of our community, they would turn over in their graves.
A group of men gathered to discuss the juvenile crime crisis. Vincent Hill has more on this story and why they say accountability is necessary to fix the problem.
On Greenmount Avenue in North Baltimore.
Good morning, black men.
Good morning. A gathering of men discussing Baltimore's juvenile crime problem.
We are a city in crisis when it comes to crime and violence.
And what can be done to get it under control.
I think we need to declare as black men that we're in a state of emergency.
That emergency spilling to the streets of Baltimore. This video shows a 12 and 14-year-old assaulting a Butchers Hill woman. The 12-year-old arrested 13 times before for car theft. But the juvenile crime crisis is more than just stolen cars.
I came here just now, a 15-year-old just got locked up for murder. Why should a 15-year-old have a possession of a firearm, right? Why should a 15-year-old even know how to use a gun?
That teen arrested Friday.
Shots 5 alert. Location is 731 West Saratoga, 6 rounds.
Accused of shooting and killing another teen in Southwest Baltimore. Their cries for help captured on police dispatch.
I'm 2361. I got person GSW to the right arm. I need a
Wendell Freeman.
Yeah, my name is Wendell Freeman. I'm actually a candidate for Baltimore City Mayor.
Says his plan to combat juvenile crime, accountability.
In order to stop youth crime, we got to hold parents accountable.
Meanwhile, as current Mayor Brandon Scott,
Baltimore has a 19% reduction in homicides.
Touts homicides are down. These men are not buying it.
Saying, oh yes, crime and homicides are down in the city of Baltimore. I'd be damned.
12 juveniles have been shot and killed in Baltimore so far this year, while carjackings and robberies committed by juveniles are up 97% from this time last year.
These kids are running off the hook right now.
Many say the drop in homicides coincides with the partnership between City State Attorney Ivan Bates and U.S. Attorney Eric Barron. They announced their partnership earlier this year, promising a tougher on crime approach in the city. Now, since then, homicides have fallen 20%. Non-fatal shootings have fallen 9%. Mayor Scott doubled down on his claims that he's also responsible for this decline.
Why do you take credit for that?
Because we put in the effort, right?
Some data shows that when Ivan Bates and Eric Barron took office, we began to see
I think that's false data. I love them both dearly. Their cases are made by police officers that work for Brandon Scott, the mayor of Baltimore City. We direct. The rest are done by us. All the enforcement is done by us.
Now, crimes committed by juveniles have been an ongoing issue in the state. Just this past January, Anne Arundel County Police released a 7-page document outlining crimes they say were committed by children too young to be prosecuted. Since then, Fox 45 News has heard from police, parents, and prosecutors frustrated with the state's current juvenile crime laws.
I had no awareness that he was doing all these types of activities. I mean, something's got to give, because like I said, the rate he going, he not going to be here. The rate he keep going, he needs more discipline, more structure.
If you don't work on this immediately, and you say we're going to look at it in January, and we're going to ask the governor to sign it in April, May, or June, and it's effective in July or maybe October, the wake of victims is going to be tremendous.
They come in, we can't detain them. They're back in the community the next day. They get picked up for the second one. Can't detain them. They're back in the community again the next day.
Many say Maryland cannot wait to see changes in this law. Now, Fox 45 News took concerns to Governor Wes Moore. He says juvenile justice laws need to be re-examined, but he hasn't offered any concrete solutions yet. He also stood by DGS Secretary Vincent Schiraldi, calling him a reformer.
We're very clear on the challenges that DJS has had and that have been long-standing. We're clear that when we came into office, we walked into a DJS that was understaffed and underfunded. And it's the reason why I appointed a true reformer.
Schiraldi defended the state's juvenile crime laws in an interview with Fox 45 News this past spring. He says he believes juveniles should not be exposed to the adult system until they turn 25 years old.
The systems we have now, when you put these young people in adult systems, they really don't do well. Kids that are really young are much more of a social service problem than they are a criminal juvenile justice problem. And when you have a 12-year-old or an 11-year-old in a detention facility with a bunch of 17 and 18-year-olds, all you're doing is teaching that kid how to become a worse criminal.
Some former lawmakers and police leaders criticized Schiraldi, saying those policies make Maryland less safe.
You're basically saying up until the age of 25, which is what he wants to do, you get a free ride.
Unfortunately, legislators, lawmakers, have decided that it's better to support the lawbreakers rather than those who are enforcing the law.
He also supports ending probation or parole for offenders of any age. That brings us to our question of the day. Do you think the legislature will listen to the will of the people when it comes back in January? So far, 70% of those who have voted say no. You can go to foxbaltimore.com/vote and cast your vote. Well, billions of dollars expected to be cut from the Department of Transportation. How it could affect the city, just ahead.
I'm meteorologist Wyatt Everhart, tracking those rain showers pushing off to the east, but in their wake, we're still dealing with some fog and mist out there this morning. Watch out. Use the low beams if you need to on some of those low-lying areas. We'll talk about the setup into the day and into the week ahead right after this break.
Developing this morning, billions in cuts could potentially hit the Department of Transportation in the coming weeks. Back in August, the governor hinted at, quote, hard budget decisions on the horizon, with the state facing a structural gap of $322 million. Economist Erban Basu says those cuts could significantly impact Baltimore City.
That will affect many across the state, including in Baltimore City, because one of the targets for these cuts is bus service. And we know that many people in the city depend upon a bus service to get to work and do other things. So the state might also at some point raise taxes. That would also impact people, whether in Baltimore City or other 23 major jurisdictions of our state.
Governor Moore is expected to address the Department of Transportation on Thursday. In Indianapolis, the Mustangs from Mervo eyeing their second state title in the last 3 years. The fourth quarter comeback you don't want to miss. That's ahead on Sports Unlimited. And it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Wyatt, you gotta come in and help me out with this one. The festivities that spark some holiday cheer just ahead. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning.
Welcome into your morning sports report. I'm Rocco DeSangro. To be one of the two final teams standing at the end of the year, it's an accomplishment in itself, especially when you look at the body of work and the level of dedication it takes to get to a state championship. But neither of the two teams you're about to see was satisfied with just getting to that final game. Mervo and North Point squaring off in the Class 4A, 3A title game. Eagles would strike first on a DJ Brown touchdown. Third quarter, Mervo knocking on the door here. Bobby Johnson pushes in for the score. Extra point, no good. North Point still holding on to a 7-6 lead to the fourth. Just over 2 minutes to go. Raymond Moore dials up Justin Devon to give the Mustangs the lead, and they would hold on. Mervo wins its second state title in the last 3 seasons. 14-7 the final score. How about that?
The word of the year was together, and they thought it was kind of weak and kind of corny, but I think they bought into it. I think they understand why I came up with that word, simple word of together. I think they did it. I think what made this team special was that they stayed together. Yeah, there was challenges, but there's no challenges that we can't overcome if we're doing it together. I think last year, we kind of broke apart. Some of the things the tragedies that happened, we kind of broke apart. So I felt like this was the year we had to bring our team and our community back together.
NCAA Division III quarterfinals. Johns Hopkins hosting Randolph-Macon, and this one got crazy in the fourth. Blue Jays down a touchdown. Josh Pulse from Bay Harvey. Made extra point, ties the game at 29. Under 8 to go, Randolph-Macon with the ball. Mitchell Johnson gonna break loose here, out in the open field. 43 yards later, he is in the end zone. Yellow Jackets back in front. Under 2 minutes to go. Hopkins knocking on the door. Bay Harvey in for 6. This game is tied again at 36, but the Yellow Jackets would get the ball back, drive down the field, and with 4 seconds left, Kyle Elay kicks the game-winning 34-yard field goal. Blue Jays season comes to an end in the D3 quarterfinals, 39-36, the final from Homewood Field. No football for the Ravens today, a much-needed bye week as they sit atop the AFC. With a 9-3 record, a key contributor to the team's success this season, defensive lineman Justin Matabike. A contract year for the 26-year-old former third-round pick, and he is playing like it. Matabike leads the Ravens in sacks with 10, to the surprise of many, considering in his previous 3 seasons combined, he's totaled 8.5. So what's been the difference? Outside linebackers coach Chuck Smith has the answer.
Beak was already on fire. He came out last year, but a lot of people never brought up Beak, what he was doing, because we were looking at Calais and Justin Houston so much, you know, and they're great players. But last year, give him credit, and the guys who were here last year, Beak was already rolling, you know what I'm saying, doing some great things. What did he have, 6 or something like that? So, I mean, he was only 4 away from, 10. But I think coming in this year, again, that culture. I mean, one thing is we want to have a pass rush culture. That's what we got. I mean, we're going to stop the run, but all week I'm thinking pass rush.
In men's college basketball action, UMBC beats Lehigh 92-87. Deion Brown and Bryce Johnson combined for 49 points in the win. Loyola falls to 1-7 on the year with a 79-73 overtime loss to Delaware State. On the women's end, Loyola women's basketball beats Mount St. Mary's 63-42. Coppin State falls to East Carolina on the road 59-51. And Morgan State drops its game with St. Francis 69-59, the final score. In Pete Shinnick's first season as Towson's head coach, the Tigers finished the year at 5-6, going 4-4 in conference play. There were some really big wins and some not-so-great losses. But Shinnick saw flashes of how great this team can really be. He joined me one-on-one to recap the 2023 campaign.
I don't think anybody sits there and goes, hey, 5-6 is where we want to be. But then you get an opportunity to reflect on that 5-6, and you get an opportunity to see what that 5-6 actually was. In talking to a lot of people in the league, I mean, to be able to go to New Hampshire and win in overtime, that's a heck of a win, and we'll take it. Then to beat William and Mary at their place, which at the time, I think it was a record crowd for them in their new facility. So that was fun. And then to finish the way we did against, Rhode Island, who was picked as one of the top teams in the conference and really had an opportunity, I think, if they beat us, to make the playoffs. I think the highs are great, and I think the lows are learning points for us.
Your biggest positive takeaway from this season, and the biggest thing that you'd like to see this program improve on as you go forward into year 2 with Towson?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway is we proved we could play with people, and we proved that we could be in games. And I think anytime you take over a program, you want to see what kind of heart and what kind of fight and what kind of grit that program has. I want to build on that, but then obviously we have got to be a more consistent football team. I think we ended the season win one, lose one, win one, lose one, win one, lose one, up and down. And so we got to be able to we got to be able to be consistent week in and week out.
You can catch my full interview with Shinnick tonight on Sports Unlimited at 10:35. That's your morning sports report. I'm Rocco DeSangro. Have a great Sunday.
All righty. Well, we've got some NFL Sunday happening after this. Meteorologist Wyatt Everhart. I've had something like a cat on my tongue this morning. Maybe it's all the fog that's out there.
Yeah, I think, day number 2, right, of the fog. And so I think, it's kind of like all giving us a little second pause there. Look, the rain, at least, we had some soaking rain overnight for sure. Many spots getting over an inch of rain. That is now pushing off to the east. So we're set to clear out slowly but surely as the rain itself is now off to the northeast, but the lingering cloud cover, mist, and low-lying wet conditions, that is still remaining. In fact, in the last hour, we've seen visibility drop. This is again foggier over the last half an hour. So 1 mile visibility at the airport right now, but many spots could drop to under a half a mile. This low cloud deck is kind of lifts, drops, lifts. As we work into the midday and the early afternoon, that will improve drier air is trying to push in out of the west, so by late afternoon we should see some improvement. Baltimore itself, Eastern Shore, taking even longer, so you may not see much clearing like places like down toward the beaches. 50 or so right now. Air temps should climb slowly today into the mid-upper 50s. That's going to be about it. We're, so again, mainly looking for that late day clearing effect. What a mess it was overnight. All that rain, mist, and fog. Now the rain, at least, is off to the northeast. Yeah, partly to mostly cloudy late day, but still that will represent an improvement. And then we'll stay clear as we go into Monday morning around here. A few clouds late day Monday, but I don't think we're going to see much at all in the way of precipitation after today, at least, for several days to come. That's good. A chance to dry out from all the rain over the weekend. So a wet and misty day today, clears later in the day into the evening. Drier air arriving to start the week. Then we got a brief cold shot on the way in here as we go toward the middle part of the week. Misty, wet travel troubles up and down the East Coast. Wouldn't want to really be flying today, at least not on the East Coast. Boston all the way down to Charleston, even North Florida, socked in with the rain. Clearer weather, drier air out to the west, and chillier air. So even though we're in the mild sector now from Maryland south into Atlanta, we're going to get into the colder air as we push toward Tuesday night. Wednesday and Thursday, never really out of the 40s around here. So the chill does make a return for sure midweek. However, I will point out another mild surge set to come in as we go toward the start of next weekend. So I've been saying it all morning. Pendulum kind of swinging both directions here in the early December forecast. Back to you.
Well, the holiday season is in full swing across Maryland. Santa's actually in Dundalk for the annual Christmas parade. The classic vehicles, holiday decorated cars, and Christmas-themed floats all line the streets for the kickoff. The community brought back a ton of festive traditions, including a holiday hoopla, where gingerbread house making and cookie contests were all on the itinerary. And then in Essex, the holiday cheer was in full display. The community helped light that 25-foot live Christmas tree at the Essex Museum. The fun-filled lighting included gifts for kids, a DJ, even St. Nick himself on top of a fire truck. But don't miss out on today, okay? Because Mayor Scott's going to be joining the Hamden Medfield community for the 50th annual Hamden's Mayor's Christmas Day Parade. Now, it's going to take place at 1 p.m., starts at Poly Western High School. It's about a 2.5-mile route, and if you want to go, you're going to see some awesome floats, bands, Santa Claus, of course, and even our own Tom Rogers and Justin Chambers. This parade has been a cherished tradition in the community for years and brings lots of fun and lights and excitement and holiday cheer to the city. Even though they're going to have to battle with some showers through the early afternoon, meteorologist Wyatt Everhart will join us at the desk with his full track. But you're looking live at Vegas at the Bellagio Hotel as the Christmas spirit is in full swing. Stick with us here at Fox 45 Morning News.
fog hanging over Ocean City.
Really just displays that visibility concern that you were talking about all morning, Wyatt.
It's one of those, we're just socked in, and the Chesapeake is really fogged up right now as well. So, look, I will say this, we get slow clearing through the course of the day, and then drier air arrives to kick off the week, so it's a much better Monday morning drive versus our Saturday and Sunday morning drives have been tough to see out there. Colder midweek, though.
It's good football weather, good laundry weather.
Today is that day. It's like, my Netflix queue is a little backed up. Watch a little football, catch up some Netflix.
It's almost like you're reading my mind.